Thank you for hosting us today. My name is Diana Nabiruma, and I work for a Ugandan organization called Africa Institute for Energy Governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena, for hosting us. Maxwell Atuhura is my name. Environmental and human rights defender from Uganda. I am also working with Tasha Research Institute, Africa, based in Uganda.
Yeah. Thank you to come here and to take this time to talk about the situation in Uganda. I want to tell us if you can just send me a little bit much about the project of Tilenga.
A brief description of the Tilenga oil project. It's an upstream oil project. That means that Total Energies, the French oil company, which is in charge of the project, is seeking to drill 400 oil wells to extract for oil that will either be refined in Uganda, a little small quantity of it if an oil refinery is built, while the rest of the oil will be exported via the East African crude oil pipeline. I've already mentioned that the project has 400 oil wells, and of those, 130 are within Murchison Falls National Park. Now, Murchison Falls National Park is one of Uganda's oldest, largest, and most visited national parks. By virtue of its size, because it's one of the largest, it means the park has a number of plant and animal species living within the park. And the Tilenga project hasn't only affected Murchison Falls National Park. There is what is called the area of influence of the Tilenga project. The project extends to Bugungu Wildlife Reserve, Kaboya Game Reserve, and other areas that are within the Albertine Graben. So the footprint of the project in terms of biodiversity impacts is big. We have endangered animals that live in the affected parks. These animals have been listed by the International Union for Conservation of Nature as being endangered. We have elephants, we have chimpanzees, and we have various other species of concern within those areas. Thank you very much.
And what about the government of Uganda? It works with Total for this project.
Okay, so yes, the entire project, because it's not just the Tilenga oil project in Uganda. So
there are a lot
perhaps I could give a brief introduction to the viewer so that they may have a better understanding of Uganda's oil sector and the various oil projects they are in the sector. So Uganda discovered commercial quantities of oil in 2006. Today, the commercial deposits and the discoveries were made in the Albertine Graben in Uganda. For conservationists, when they hear the two words Albertine Graben, bells go off in them, because the Albertine Graben is one of the most eco-sensitive and most biodiverse areas in Uganda and Africa at large. In Uganda, Uganda's National Environment Management Authority, that's a government agency, says that the Graben hosts 70% of Uganda's national parks. The Graben is also home to 8 out of 15 well-recognized forests. The Graben is home to over 50% of Africa's bird species, as well as being home to over 30% of Africa's mammal species. The Graben also has reptiles, plant species, and other species. So it's a very biodiverse, very rich biodiversity and eco-sensitive area. Now, the number of barrels of Uganda's oil, the confirmed deposits, are 6.5 billion barrels. And of those, between 1.4 to 1.7 barrels are recoverable. Now, to recover the recoverable barrels. The Ugandan government is working with oil companies under 3 main projects. There are other projects, but I'll talk about the 3 main ones. We have the Tilenga project, which we have discovered. The Tilenga project, Tilenga means cob. The cob in Uganda, or is it antelope? What does Tilenga mean? I think it means cob or antelope. I don't remember. The antelope is a very common species in Uganda, and so is the cob. The cob is so common in Uganda that one of Uganda's emblems is the Uganda cob. So the Tilenga project is named after one of Uganda's key features. Now the Tilenga project is operated by Total Energies, and like I mentioned, there are 400 oil wells, and 130 of those are within Murchison Falls National Park. We also have the Kingfisher Oil project. It's much smaller, but that doesn't mean that its environmental footprint is strong. Under the Kingfisher Oil project, which is operated by China National Offshore Oil Corporation, we have oil wells that are within and I think around Lake Albert. I know that oil is going to be drilled from under the bed of Lake Albert, and it will be taken to well pads and then a central processing facility for cleaning, and then it will be divided. Some will go to the oil refinery, while the majority will be evacuated via the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or the EACOP. And that brings me to the 3rd major oil project in Uganda. We'd say it's one of the biggest. It's the biggest project. The East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or the EACOP, is a planned 1,443 kilometer pipeline. It's going to be constructed from Hoima. That's where the majority of the oil activities in Uganda are. It's a district in the Albertine Graben in western Uganda. So the EACOP will be constructed from Hoima district to the port of Tanga in Tanzania. Uganda's oil is waxy. It looks like shoe polish. For those who know what shoe polish is like, it's solid, dark and solid, and in order to be transported via pipeline, the pipeline has to be heated to 50 degrees Celsius. And now the length of the pipeline means that its footprint in terms of social and ecological is big. Now, because the pipeline also has to be heated, there are biodiversity concerns, but there are also climate change concerns. So I thought I would share that for the viewer to be able to understand what these 3 main projects are. Thank you very much.
To add on, it is implemented by joint venture partners. That is Total, Sinok, and Uganda National Oil Company.
Okay.
So of all these, Total is the one having big share. So followed by Sinok, then Uganda National Oil Company. So you find that Total, we talk of Total because it has a big say in this. So if Total decided they cannot proceed with this, I don't think as a partners can do it.
Yeah. And now we're talking to human rights violation and environment violation too. And you here now in the Human Rights Council to denunciate this. Can we denunciate this situation in the Human Rights Council today? This day?
Okay. Thank you. So I'll speak first, then I'll give an opportunity to my colleague Maxwell to speak as well. We are here today at the UN Human Rights Council specifically, and we've also met some UN special rapporteurs on food, the situation of human rights defenders, right to a clean and healthy environment, among others. And we particularly came to talk about, one, the human rights violations that are undergoing as a result of the oil and gas exploitation activities in Uganda. We talked about the violations under the Tilenga an eco-oil project. And specifically, these violations include taking away people's right to use their land in a way that they would be able to productively use the land before paying them prompt, fair, and adequate compensation as is provided for under Uganda's laws. Maxwell talks about the use of a cut-off date. When land is being compulsorily acquired in Uganda, it's said that it's a best practice to set a cut-off date so that, any new developments that are set up thereafter and compensated for. The cut-off date is aimed at curbing speculative behavior, and we understand where the companies and the Ugandan government are coming from when they use the cut-off date in that regard. Unfortunately, the cut-off date, the way it's used in Uganda, is that communities are told that you cannot use your land for certain activities. You cannot use your land to grow crops, perennial food, and cash crops. You also cannot use your land to set up maybe a new house, a new kitchen, a new toilet without getting permission for the amenities such as kitchens and toilets. We have communities whose land is being acquired for the eco who've been complaining we are unable to rebuild our kitchens or a toilet. They collapse, but because if we build after the cut-off date, we won't be compensated for that. Yes. And then stopping people from using their land to grow perennial food and cash crops takes away their right to make a living, because people make a living through growing these food and cash crops. It also undermines communities' right to enjoy food, their food rights. And then, so away from that, the other violations include the fact that communities can't freely express themselves because there is a lot of fear that's inculcated in communities. If you speak up and say, look, the compensation that you want to pay for my coffee plant, only about 20,000 Ugandan shillings isn't enough. Can we discuss and it's revised? When communities speak up and if they stand their ground, you find that a lot of intimidation ensues, and then people are unable to freely express themselves, to freely speak out. And then at a national level, and even at, let me call it civil society level, you find that a lot of reprisals have been leveled against civil society organizations or civil society groups that try to defend the rights of our communities. Specifically, I'll speak about August 2021. The Ugandan government tried to close 54 civil society groups, and of those, Afiego, the civil society group that I work for, was among. I think 7 of our other partners were targeted, those who keep signing onto the petitions that we write saying respect people's rights, respect the environment, respect biodiversity. They were also targeted. And we were targeted because of this work that we do to defend the human and environmental rights of communities in Uganda. Now, the actions to try to close us were unsuccessful, and because of that, the Ugandan government then resorted to using intimidation tactics, such as arresting our staff. I wanted to say that between May and October 2021, staff and our partners were arrested a total of 7 times. So we were engaging the UN special rapporteurs, but also participating in the debate today and the debate that will go on for a number of days to engage the UN to take action to ensure that the rights or freedoms of assembly, association, expression, and others are respected in Uganda, because without these being respected in our context, no rights or very few rights will be enjoyed. We won't be able to agitate for the right to food, for the right to livelihoods, for the right to a clean and healthy environment, and others. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana. To add on, like you have put it already, we are here to call upon UN to add effort on protection, respect, and remedy for victim of human rights violation. We are here to denounce the destruction of Murchison Falls, the risk of oil spill in the Lake Victoria Basin. We are here to denounce the harassment of human and environmental rights defender. We are here to denounce the harassment to civil society. I was, personally speaking, I was arrested first in May and detained for 2 days.
Yeah.
Later on, they came in October and detained me for some hours, and the office where I was sitting was closed in the region. The reason of arresting, I didn't understand. They charged me of unlawful assembly. But in the questions they were asking me to police, they were asking me, is oil bad? They were asking me, why do you with community, why do you look, what do you want with community affected by oil? Why do you visit oil wells? Why do you empower community to write petition to the company, something like that? You say, you find that the whole speech was connected to oil, was connected to the Total's work in Uganda. The whole thing was connected to that. And when they came to close the office, I asked them, why are you closing the office? They were saying that you know that the office where I was working was for partner organization. By then I was working for Afiego. Why are you closing the office? That Afiego was closed. Then the office was for Afiego and Navoda, and I asked them, what about Navoda? I think we don't want to hear. Now, just some few days ago, I saw in the article they were writing about Afiego, Navoda, and other people. They are working for foreigners to against the oil extraction, like that, blackmailing, talking a lot of about human rights defender. This is all aimed at silencing human rights defenders, disorganize, intimidate, and to see that they violate the way they want, which is unacceptable. So that's why we are here to human rights to say, to call upon UN to come and do something. We are happy to announce that some UN special rapporteurs have come on the ground. They have done investigating, but it's unfortunate that nothing has changed. So we want more action to see that something is done.
Yeah. Thank you so much.